Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today, Democrat Larry Woods and Republican analyst Debra Maggart. We're talking about the upcoming general election for both governor and U.S. Senate in Tennessee. The GOP primary for Governor Larry was so contentious that there was some questions about the unity, and there was an effort to bring all the candidates together along with the other elected officials on the Republican side. And there are a lot of nice things said by the elected officials. The candidates didn't say anything. A lot of their aides didn't say anything. Is there unity?
Well, not yet, but there, in the governor's race, there probably will be. Every faction, I think, of the state Republican Party has too much at stake, too high an interest level for them not to come together behind their nominee.
And Debra, there's this terrible picture that was put out, that the Republican Party sent it out, of all the candidates and the elected officials on stage, and I don't think there's a smile in the group. Nobody takes, not every picture everybody takes is a good picture of them, but for that many people, what did the other photographs look like? Because the Republican Party sent this out. This did not come from the media.
Well, I can tell you, I've talked to someone from every campaign, and they are all united behind Bill Lee and Marsha Blackburn. All the campaigns are united and ready to go. And I can tell you, I've lost a race before. It was a high-profile race, too, and I didn't feel like smiling at all, right? So I commend them for at least being there Saturday morning. I mean, they were exhausted. You all worked on campaigns. They were exhausted, very tired, and it's no fun to lose. So I think if they took a bad picture, I think I can certainly understand why.
This reminds me, the photo shot of the Republicans on the platform last week reminds me of the old days with the Tennessean newspaper. If you were a candidate they didn't like, they would always have awful photographs of you on the front page of Tennessean day after day after day. And I know that was not what was going on with this one, but yeah, that's sort of what it reminded me of.
And I have seen a photo of everyone with their eyes opened and everyone smiling. I have seen that picture. So,
and I have a bridge in Brooklyn, but
no,
okay.
I saw it. I did. I think the Bill Lee campaign has it.
Starting with the Senate race, we are starting to see some ads out there. The first ad that that Phil Bredesen sent out was a very interesting one. It's a collage of prominent Republicans, including Senator Corker, saying very nice things about Phil Bredesen. And one of the people in the ad, Debra, is you. Yes. Is that a fair ad?
It is a misleading ad. It is not fair, and it's dishonest. I am 100% behind Marsha Blackburn, and they spliced my words together to make me say the sentence that they had me depicted in the ad saying.
Larry, what do you say?
Well,
all's fair in love, war, in politics?
Not all's fair, but I think it's a fair ad. Debra comes off looking and sounding great, which she is on a personal level, even though she and I disagree politically. I like Debra a lot. She can't stand me, but that's okay.
That's not true. That is not true.
No, I mean, it's a fair ad in the sense that Bredesen's attempting to educate people about, look, I'm a guy who's going to work with everybody. And therefore, we all understand he wants to put Republicans in the ad stream, etc., to demonstrate that. And he's got that background. He did work with Republicans and Democrats in the legislature. But I understand your point that they spliced your words.
Debra, this is not an ad, but there was also an effort this week to try to make Phil Bredesen look like he was an elitist. There were some comments he made in the Chattanooga Times Free Press that were taken by some of the groups like Tennessee Star and like the Washington, I think there was one that came up from a Washington Examiner group, basically saying that Phil Bredesen was elitist and talking about how much money he has and the fact that he has multiple homes across the country and a jet plane. Is that a fair ad? Or a fair news story, I should say.
Well, I mean, we elected a president who is a millionaire, billionaire, I'm not sure what he is exactly, but you know, I don't know how it plays on this level, on the state level, because you know, of course, Republicans, we want people to be successful. That's part of our party platform, but I guess it's all in how you present it, you know?
I think that's right. Everybody, I always advise candidates that I work with, look, don't criticize people for being rich unless they stole the money. Everybody wants to work hard, do well, be successful, and Bredesen worked for it. He didn't inherit it. He didn't win the lottery. He worked hard to make that money. People are proud of that.
The state Republican Party used the opportunity to try to give Phil Bredesen a nickname. The president tried to do that, a different nickname when he came to town. That didn't work. Is that what candidates do early on in a general election campaign, to try to define the other person, give them a nickname? Of course, President Trump loves to give nicknames, but do those sorts of things work?
You know, I think Marsha Blackburn's got two major problems in her campaign at this point. I mean, she's got time probably to correct the course, but number one, she let Phil Bredesen go up on the air for what, 3 months without any real response in social media and television, and Bredesen spent that the last 3 months defining himself. You're exactly right. And what if you walk down the street and ask somebody today, what do you think about Phil Bredesen? The likely response you're going to get is, oh yeah, he says he'll be for Trump when Trump's doing something good for this state, and he'll be against Trump when he's not doing something good for Tennessee. I mean, that's the perfect position for Bredesen to be in.
Debra, did Marsha Blackburn's campaign make a mistake starting so late? Why did she wait to get out there? Bredesen was out there for about 3 months with his own ads, and there was no response.
I think she had to do that because we had this high-profile race for governor, and there was someone in the race whose name sounds like hers, Black and Blackburn. So I think if Marsha had gotten all out there like that, I think it might have confused some folks. But let me say this, going back to that ad where he spliced the words and that sort of thing, I think they took a look Thursday at how many people voted in the Republican primary, and they compared it to how many people voted in the Democrat primary. I think
it's like a $250,000 difference.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it's a serious difference. I think it's 610,000 votes for Marsha and 338,000, something like that.
So in trying to figure out who's ahead, Real Clear Politics has Bredesen up 4.5 in their average of polls, yet we have what you saw in that primary thing. So who do you determine at this point who's the favorite and who's the underdog?
Well, you use polling like we all do, and I hadn't seen a poll now in a couple of weeks, but RealClearPolitics.com, you know, as you pointed out, has Bredesen up about 4%, a little bit outside the margin of error. So it's obviously a close election. I think the numbers in the Republican primary are dangerous for Marsha Blackburn, though. What Debra just said about the numbers is accurate and correct.
Her opponent got 15% of the vote?
That's right, an opponent that nobody knows, basically. And what it says is, if you look at the numbers, 200,000 of the Republicans who voted for governor did not vote for Marsha Blackburn for the Senate at the same time.
Was there a Democratic crossover this time? I had more people talking to me about that than I've ever heard in the last couple of elections.
I have
did
heard
it make
that.
a difference?
Well, I have heard that from different camps, that they thought a lot of Democrats might have crossed over. But
I think some did.
But again, let's look at November. All of these coalitions are going to be behind Marsha Blackburn. The Republican Governors Association will be here in full force helping Bill Lee. That'll help Marsha, I think. You know, the National Republican Senatorial Committee, they're going to be heavily invested. Like I said, Donald Trump is going to be here. I think part of this unity that we worked so hard for last Saturday is to get everybody on board, because I think sometimes Republicans might stay home. Things are going great. You know, the economy's good. Unemployment is way down, that sort of thing. So I think you're going to see a real push to make people understand that if they don't get out and vote for Marsha, we're going to have Phil Bredesen in D.C. voting with Chuck Schumer, and that isn't going to fly with the Republicans.
Let's take a break. We got Debra Maggart from the Republican side. We've got Larry Woods from the Democratic side. We're talking about the November general election coming up for both the U.S. Senate and Tennessee's governor's chair. Back to continue our conversation with our two political analysts after this break.